Thank you for joining everyone today. This talk is snarky. It's called Lying to Robots, but we're gonna actually take an opposite approach to everything here today. We're gonna start with bad things to do to your API documentation if you do not want to be compatible with LLMs. So first things first, my name is Michaela Halliwell. I'm the Senior Platform and Data Product Manager at a company called HCSS. We manage all of the vertical construction in the United States and North America. So by vertical construction, I mean highways, bridges, pipelines, airports. So no skyscrapers, no houses, no commercial buildings. So we've been around for about 40 years, and with that comes a lot of data. And our customers rely on us to provide them with data that keeps them safer, rely on our APIs specifically to pay their people on time, pay their people accurately. And so time card data, safety incident data, we have a very large collection of enterprise companies that rely on our APIs to be accurate, fast, reliable, and readable by LLMs. We've had customers come to us recently and say, unless you are going to be putting AI alongside your APIs, we're going to look elsewhere. And so it's as a product manager, my job is to think about what matters to the customer. How are our APIs being used? How are they consumable? And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. Current API standards, or maybe previous to LLMs showing up on the scene for all of us to consume, assume a human intelligence. So our APIs have been built assuming that humans are going to read them. Our developer communities have years of knowledge with them. They can understand how to handle errors. They can read in between the lines. LLMs can do this to an extent. They're not great at the black and white sometimes. They're very good at reasoning, but sometimes they assume and they read between the lines, and it's not accurate. So the point being that documentation, API docs specifically, are not just needed for humans anymore. They're also built for machines. So bad practice number one, if you do not want to work with LLMs, if you do not want AI anywhere near your API docs, a great thing for you to do is keep everything really vague. And so what that means, and you know this one, right? The empty descriptions, the use this sparingly with no actual context, the kind of stuff that a human developer will probably guess you meant, but an LLM will probably guess wrong. So LLMs aren't going to assume best practices. They don't read between the lines. And if we don't tell them what to do, they're going to make it up. So things like use this endpoint sparingly, just having blank descriptions, ambiguous param types, or vague notes. We want to avoid that. So the good practice is to treat your API docs as code. You wouldn't want to push to prod without any tests, right? So the same thing applies here. Every field should be described. Every constraint should be spelled out. And when you do that, you're not just helping a developer, you're training the next AI agent that hits your endpoint in order to respond responsibly. So every field, say exactly what it is, who it's for, what it behaves, give it the context. We see things, these intelligence layers that are coming on the scene now with like model context protocol, right? If you want to give it the context, you might need to take a look at your APIs and say, do we have user roles defined in here really well? Do they understand what they're doing in the workflow? You want to make sure you're using precise terminology, like hitting a 429 and explaining what that actually means, not just a blank try it again later. Include usage notes, all that type of stuff. So that's the first one. Second bad practice is inconsistent naming. So I see this everywhere. And it's one of the first things I look for when I'm doing like an audit or a cleanup of API documentation. Naming things inconsistently, user ID, user underscore ID, an UID, ID underscore user in the same docs. Maybe you have products that have been developed over several decades, or your docs aren't centralized, your APIs aren't centralized. Make sure your teams are linting using style guides. A human might get it, but an LLM will not. It's going to assume that these are 4 different entities, and it'll try to resolve them. It'll guess wrong, and now you've got bad code falling downstream. So that's the bad practice. Good practice that we want to fix this with: pick a pattern, stick to it. You don't need one true naming convention. If you pick one, stick to it. That consistency is what the LLM will pick up and recognize. If you name things with patterns, you're giving the model a fighting chance to understand how your API works. You're giving it rules, and it loves a rule. So predictable field structures, LLMs love it. And I put on here bonus points if you name consistently across your endpoints as well in the URLs. Bad practice number 3, missing or sloppy example. So this is like missing descriptions, loose language, no constraints. Nothing screams, I didn't test this, like an example that doesn't match your schema, or a placeholder that is just empty or has foobar with no context. So sloppy examples. The LLM is going to use this as training data. So if it's bad, it's missing, the model's going to fill in the blanks, no remorse. Make sure that if you mean number, you say number, not value. If you're returning empty brackets, or if you forget to show both request and response, that's just sloppy. Treat it with care like you would any other product. And once you've got consistency, once you're taking it seriously, the LLM will be able to pick it up a little bit better. Good practice with that. Use clean, accurate, realistic examples and match your schema. So examples for every call, match the schema. Show both requests and response, and label them if you can. This isn't extra polish. It's really just how you prevent confusion and, with LLMs, hallucination. Moving on to the next one, bad practice number 3, or number 4. Don't assume that docs are just for humans, right? LLMs can't scrape prose for logic. If the structure isn't there, it's going to be invisible to the machine. So your documentation is going to read like a blog post. It might be beautiful. It might be conversational. It might be funny. There are some great API docs that I've seen that are clever and snarky, and their how-to docs, have a personality almost. I love that, but make sure your spec is usable to a machine. So we've all seen these. Devs love it, people love it, but LLMs can't parse it. If there's no headers, no auth, no guidance, no rate limit fields, then LLMs might have trouble parsing it. So what do we do to fix that? We're going to write for humans and machines. Even if you're not using MCP, Model Context Protocol, or something like agents.json, yet you should write your docs like they're being read by something that can't infer context. So what does that mean? Structured headers, authentication flows, rate limit notes in structured formats. Your docs need to be clear to machines and humans now. And lastly, bad practice number 5, if you want to lie to robots, bad practice number 5, everything's a 200, right? So this is about our error descriptions. If your API returns a 200, okay, even when something's wrong, errors are buried, or you only see one status code for 10 different outcomes, LLMs are going to rely on things like that. They need to know what happened. Humans need to know what happened too. That should just be par for the course, but you'd be surprised. If everything looks like success, or nothing is explained, they're not going to know how to recover. So in fixing that, what we do is we make sure that status codes are also contracts. A smart API consumer, whether it's human or AI, need clear signals about success and failure, and then what to do to rectify the situation. What are the next steps? So use 400s for client errors, use 500s for server errors. Make sure each code is documented. Include what the consumer should do in response. Whoever is consuming your API and on the other end making that call and they get an error, make sure that they understand what the retry logic is. LLMs can now understand retry logic as well, auth issues, rate limiting, but only if you make it very explicit. So checklist. I promised that we'd get a checklist out of this to make sure that your docs are getting prepared for things like model context protocol, getting prepared for AI and agentic or agents to go and make calls on your behalf. We've tried doing things like putting our docs into copilots and having our users ask basic questions about how to get up and get started, or, hey, what do I want to do if I want to pull a time card out of this system, or how can I find out what and it writes all of the API's calls for you. Now we're at the step where it can go and do those things for you and be automatically set up. So automating these processes, we need to make sure that we're giving these robots, these AI tools, the clean, clear, crisp docs that they can do to be accurate in what they're doing for us. So what does that look like? Clear, complete descriptions, no empty strings. Stick to one naming convention, make sure it's consistent. Include examples that are clean or that are realistic and that are also structured, right? So make sure that we're writing auth handling or auth and error handling. Make sure that status codes are honest and detailed. And then lastly, write for machines and humans, right? Treat your LLMs like a second audience. This is your master checklist. And you can get into it with your devs of like, hey, what specifically do we need to add? What do we need to go back through and make sure that our APIs are consumable, not just for humans, but also for machines. So takeaways from this: protocols like MCP, agents.json are showing us what the next step is. So APIs that teach machines how to use them, that's where the future is going. In fact, not really going, it's happening now. LLMs are already trying to use APIs, whether you're ready or not. So we need to play catch up a little bit sometimes. Remember, APIs don't just serve developers anymore. We have a whole new persona to consider. They shape the behavior of LLMs, copilots, agents. You're teaching them how to behave. So have boundaries. Boundaries are sexy, especially with APIs. And then what we publish teaches the system how to act. So final takeaway, LLMs can be powerful co-pilots for APIs, which are already complicated, hard to consume for some people, only have context to the people who are really close to them. But if you give intentional docs, your documentation can be a great support. Your API docs can be a great support tool. It can be a great live interface between your company, the machine trying to understand it. So the more intention you write into it, the less guessing the system had to do. So that's it. That's all for me and my TED Talk. If you would like the slides or you want to continue discussing this with me, please feel free to reach out to me, Michaela Halliwell, on LinkedIn. Or if you would like a copy of the slides, I'd be happy to send them to you as well. So just reach out to me. That's all for me. Appreciate it.